Does the sound of a doorbell trigger a sudden spike of anxiety in your chest? You love your friends. You really do. But when someone says, "I am coming over," your brain does not hear fun. It hears invasion. This is not just about being an introvert. If your immediate physical reaction to guests is dread, you are likely dealing with a suppressed trauma response. Your body perceives a threat to your only safe zone. If you have ever felt this specific type of guilt, type the number 1 in the comments right now. Stick with me, because we are going to decode exactly why your nervous system reacts this way, so you can finally stop blaming yourself. Let's look at the biology behind the fear. To understand this reaction, we have to look at a biological mechanism called hypervigilance. If you grew up in an environment where the emotional climate was unpredictable or where you felt unsafe, your brain adapted by becoming a high-sensitivity radar. You learned to scan for danger constantly. You tracked footsteps, analyzed slight changes in tone, and anticipated moods before they happened just to stay safe. This is a brilliant survival skill, but it comes with a heavy price. For people with this wiring, the outside world is exhausting because that radar is always running in the background. Your home is the singular sanctuary where you can finally press the off button. It is the one place where your nervous system is allowed to shift from sympathetic fight or flight to parasympathetic rest and digest. Here is the conflict. When a guest walks through your door, your brain involuntarily switches that radar back on inside your sanctuary. You cannot help it. Even if you love them, your subconscious is tracking them. Are they bored? Are they judging the mess on the table? Do they need water? You are hyper-aware of their physical presence in your space. So, when you have guests, you are not actually relaxing with a friend. Biologically, you are working a high-security shift in your own living room. You are not being antisocial. You are protecting your only opportunity to power down. But this constant scanning often triggers another exhausted reflex that makes you feel like a servant in your own house. This brings us to the next layer of exhaustion. When your radar detects a guest, your nervous system doesn't choose fight or flight. It chooses fawn. This is the fourth, and often most misunderstood, trauma response. Fawning is essentially people-pleasing on autopilot to ensure safety. When a guest enters your space, you instantly stop inhabiting your own body and start inhabiting theirs. You become an emotional butler. You are not just sitting there. You are constantly monitoring their micro-expressions. Are they bored? Is the music too loud? Is the room too cold? Do they need a snack? You find yourself laughing at jokes that aren't funny and agreeing with opinions you don't actually hold, just to keep the atmosphere perfectly smooth. If you are still watching and this concept of the fawn response is unlocking something for you, type the number 3 in the comments. It tells me you are truly dedicated to understanding the deeper workings of your mind. The tragedy of the fawn response is that it requires you to suppress your own needs completely. You cannot relax because you are too busy managing their experience. You feel responsible for their happiness. If there is a moment of silence, you panic and fill it, fearing that silence means they are judging you. This explains why you feel so drained afterward. You haven't just had coffee with a friend. You have just finished a 3-hour theatrical performance where you played the role of the perfect host while your true self was locked in the basement. You don't hate the guest. You hate the fact that when they are around, you cease to exist in your own home. Where did this instinct to perform come from? It rarely starts in adulthood. For many of you, this response was programmed during childhood through a process psychologists call conditioning. Think back to when you were 7 years old. What happened right before guests arrived? Was there shouting? Was there a frantic panic to clean the house? Did your parents fight just minutes before the doorbell rang, only to put on wide, perfect smiles the second the door opened? If that scenario sounds familiar, your brain learned a powerful, dangerous lesson. Guests equal danger. Guests equal deception. You learned that the arrival of outsiders meant that reality had to be hidden. You were likely told to be a good child, which was code for hide your feelings and don't embarrass us. Your home stopped being a sanctuary and became a stage. This created a somatic marker, a physical memory stored in your body. Today, as an adult, even though you know your friends are safe, your body remembers the old script. It remembers the pressure to be perfect. It remembers the loss of agency. You aren't just reacting to a friend coming over. You are reacting to the ghost of that childhood pressure to perform. Let's try a little psychological experiment on nonconformity right now. If this childhood connection makes sense to you, type the number 0 in the comments. But if you actually dislike this truth or it makes you uncomfortable, hit the like button instead. Let's see if we can confuse the algorithm together while we reclaim our narrative. Because you learned that guests meant you lost control of your environment, your adult brain now tries to regain that control by keeping the doors locked. It is not hatred. It is a desperate attempt to keep the stage curtain down so you can finally just be real. Here's the most important shift we need to make today. For years, you have probably labeled yourself as antisocial, rude, or difficult. I want you to take those labels and throw them out. What if we looked at this behavior not as a flaw, but as a triumph? If your childhood home was chaotic or performative, closing your door to the world today is actually a profound act of healing. In psychology, we call this reparenting. You are finally giving your inner child the one thing they never had, a guarantee of safety. When you feel that resistance to having people over, it is not because you hate people. It is because you have become a fierce guardian of your own peace. You are building a fortress. For the first time in your life, you have the power to control the environment, and your nervous system is simply exercising that right. That tightness in your chest? That is not social anxiety. That is your intuition telling you that your battery is low and that you are allowed to prioritize your recharge over someone else's entertainment. It is a boundary. And for people who were raised without boundaries, setting one feels like committing a crime. But it is not a crime. It is necessary maintenance. By protecting your space, you are honoring the part of you that needs silence to survive. You are saying, my comfort matters more than my politeness. That is not selfish. That is self-preservation. You are not pushing people away. You are just keeping the drawbridge up until you feel strong enough to lower it on your own terms. True healing does not mean forcing yourself to open your doors just to prove you are normal. It means respecting your biology. If your home is your only safe haven, you are allowed to keep it sacred without apology. Here is my advice. Stop trying to be the perfect host. Instead, invite connection on neutral territory, a coffee shop, a park, or a restaurant. Why? Because in public spaces, you have the ability to leave. That simple exit strategy gives your nervous system the sense of agency it craves, allowing you to enjoy your friends without the threat of invasion. Remember, you are not broken because you need solitude. You are just a person who feels deeply in a loud world. Loving people does not require you to sacrifice your peace. If you recognized yourself in this video, share your story below. You never know who needs to read it to feel less alone. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.